here we go. Welcome to SUSE QE Tools Workshop. For today, we want to continue gathering feedback. So in one of our last sessions, we had been talking about how do we support in contributions, for example, pull request reviews. So in particular, the topic was like, how do we as SUSE QE Tools, as the team who are in our main job, in our daily work, contribute to OpenQA or other and related tools? How do we support others in contributions? Like if one of you creates a pull request in backend. Today, I would be interested to gather your feedback in how we react on user reports and monitoring alerts. What I mean by that with user reports, I mean like anything that comes up over any channel. Let's say a question in chats like, hey, how can we do certain things in OpenQA? How can we execute the tests in automated fashion? Is it possible to do this or that with OpenQA? Or request for helps in reviewing certain interesting tests, failures, and also monitoring alerts. So in that case, that would be automated systems, which might have some impact, which you also see, which might just happen in the background. And still, of course, we want to handle those. And this is for, in particular, for the instances OpenQA SUSE DE, the SUSE internal instance, and OpenQA OpenSUSE.org. So I would be really happy to hear your feedback. So this is your possibility to raise that, give positive feedback, give negative feedback, some ideas for suggestions, some questions around that. So if you have anything, please open it up. However, I will also prepare a poll here in Jitsi, so maybe this is making it easier for some to answer that as a starter. So if you have anything, bring it up. In the meantime, I'm typing poll questions. How do you feel about us, SUSE QE Tools team, reacting to your questions, for help raising ideas? So 3 poll questions. Let me try with that. So the poll is open. You can find the poll in Jitsi in the chat polls. You should have seen a notification coming up, and you're welcome to check the points there. And I think it's even possible to supply multiple. Ooh, 3 positive responses. It's nice. 4 already. So 6 times we have a vote for you're always there for us, immediate response, always helpful. I appreciate it a lot, thanks. And then there's 1 meh, and it seems like, at least from you guys, we have never missed any questions or idea. Next question that I would be interested in, what what communication channels do you use and which one do you prefer? I mean, do you like to report tickets, or do you think a chat in our Matrix chat channel is more helpful, or do you use the SUSE internal Slack channel, direct messages to team members, conversations in GitHub, as it is shared? Anyone? Or would it be easier if I also open a poll about that? For the ones that wonder, how can you reach out? There is on the open.qa page, there's contact information. That one points to the main OpenQA chat on Matrix. We are also for the people in RC. We have this link. It says pointing to free now. That's actually outdated. But we are using this OpenSUSE IRC pointer, which then refers you to Libera chat room. There would also be the mailing list, although on the mailing list I see commonly not any traffic related to OpenQA or tooling. And as I mentioned, for SUSE, which would apply for most of you, we also have an internal chat channel. So how do you guys feel about the communication channels?
Since no one else, maybe I can add something.
Sure.
It depends on the context. For smaller things, the Slack channel is actually pretty useful, especially for smaller support things or just some small questions, which works really great. And for bigger things, typically filing a ticket is the way to go.
Okay.
I think that both channels have their own advantages and disadvantages, and it's kind of good that we have both so that you can use the suitable support tickets in the suitable channel.
Right.
Works pretty good, I think.
Good. Thank you. Yeah, I would see the same. Other experiences from other people or feelings about that? I mean, you can also say like you don't like a certain way, or you would like to see another way even. Some crazy idea what we should do in the future. Use like TikTok videos for feedback.
I can add something to what Felix just said. Actually, I always prefer to raise a question or concern in Slack, even if I know that there might follow a ticket, because then first I have some feedback, and the second thing is then I have the feeling that somebody knows that there is a ticket, because if you file a ticket to progress, sometimes I don't know, does it go to the nirvana, or are people really actively working on it or so? And then I makes me feel better to say, okay, in Slack, okay, I have an issue, should I open a progress ticket? Okay, here and here. And then I see people at least, I don't know, labeling it or commenting, or I don't know, giving priority or whatever.
Yes.
So I prefer this actually.
Right. So I think it's it makes sense to raise it. I don't think we have too much traffic so that we would have too much traffic about people saying like, hey, there's a ticket, and then there's something about that. Yeah. So there's also feedback in chat. Right. By the way, I forgot to mention. So today is public holiday in Czech Republic. So this is why I understand the audience is also a bit smaller today. Right. So there's the Slack channel and Slack channel plus the combination with the ticket, and for that I would like to say in particular that I'm happy to respond to a conversation in Slack, but or chat, but bringing a topic up in chat is not a promise that we will work on something. If there is a ticket, then you can be sure that we will bring it to some kind of resolution. We will not forget about it. I mean, we might just need to respond to say we can't do that, but you will have a definite answer for conversation in chat. You would need to ensure yourself that there's some kind of resolution to the discussion, right? And progress ticket and RSE, so that also works. So yeah.
Just a quick side note. So what Ollie says is kind of true. I only find a handful of tickets, maybe it was 10, 20 or something towards the QA tools teams, but all progress tickets have been replied in a timely manner so far. That has never been an issue, at least not for me.
Yeah. All right. Any more feedback? Yeah. Then what I yeah, Jan is gone.
No. I thought the mail list was missing, but it's there.
Right. One thing which I can explain to you is how do we actually work on that as a team, and how do we introduce team members to that. So let's start with our onboarding checklist for new joiners. So assume there is a new person joining the SUSE QE Tools team. Then what we ask them is to or what we do with them is we have, let's say, a team internal mentor, and with the new joiner, we go over that list and we ensure that the new person is, for example, receiving notifications which come from the according GitHub tools team, right? That they receive notifications from project regarding failing tests. We provide them access to the monitoring server, even watch this wiki page, so that of course they will also receive an update whenever we change our process, subscribe to various mailing lists and various chat channels like Matrix chat and Slack, including an OBS project, connect to OpenSUSE Factory on IRC chat, and then of course get access to the tools which they need to actually resolve problems and contribute to. And so this is onboarding. This is like a one-time task which people do in the beginning. And then as a reminder for the daily work, and this is also something which you can freely see, is we have this common task for team members. So from time to time, we also review that with the team and remind everybody that, it's not just about coding, but in this infinite DevOps loop, there's code, build, test, release, deploy, operate, monitor, and plan. And in particular, the operate and monitor part, this is also where we will feed in the user feedback. So, I see it as part of monitor, that we also monitor certain chat channels or the ticket queues for any kind of regressions or problems that come up. And then, of course, the according work that we collect there, like in tickets, will come into the plan for the backlog. So further here in monitor, you can see that we ask every team member to react on alerts, on the according emails, react to alerts also from GitLab or GitHub CI pipelines, be responsive on chat channel for help, support, and collaboration, be responsive in the internal chat channel, and be responsive on the Slack within SUSE, and the mailing list and the Matrix chat channel. Regarding monitoring, I can also shortly present that. So for example, for OpenQA SUSE DE, what we have is this list of failing alerts. So for example, you see that right now there is one alert which is alerting for 6 hours. So there's one problem with one particular machine, and apparently nobody has handled that specific machine so far, which is maybe expected because, as I said, it's public holiday in Prague and we don't have 24/7 service. And for the Central European team members, the workday is just starting. So yeah, I expect that this will be acted on today. How do people know that there is that alert? Well, of course, one can watch that web page, but we also have an email alert. How does that look like? If I go into, oops, sorry, I first need to sign in here. And I'm going back to the alerts and showing the alerting one. And what we have here in the alert definition is seemingly nothing. That shows. So it says send to OSD admins. That is a notification channel in Grafana. There can be different notification channels, for example, some kind of API that we trigger. Here, what we do is we send it to a mailing list. And by the way, every Slack room also can have a mailing list. So one can simply enable notifications to a Slack room by getting the appropriate auto-generated email address, and then one could include it here in Grafana as well. That would be an alternative. We are using email so far, and we are okay with that. So we will receive an email here. And how do we then handle the alert? Because it's a mail to a mailing list. And as I stated in before, we want to ensure that every user report as well as every alert is properly handled. We do that by following also a process which we have defined here under alert handling. And the alert handling, first it shares some best practices, but here in process it describes react on any alert or report of an outage. Okay, so we have it as a rule for the team that no alert or report should be ignored or waved away by saying like, yeah, this is just a false positive or anything. Do something. Okay, if users report outages of components, that's more critical. So we should consider forming a task force and work together, inform the affected users about the impact, mitigation workarounds, and ETA for resolution. So if it's a bigger issue, then that should include multiple members, so that one person like handles the external effects, talks to the users, and works with the mitigations, while another person or other persons work on the actual root cause to fix it for good, and often that involves a longer investigation. For each failing alert, for example, from Grafana, this is the example which I showed you before, where we end up with an email on our internal mailing list of OSD admins. The same would apply for an email coming from, for example, a GitLab CI pipeline. You know, many of you work with SLE maintenance updates. Those updates are triggered by a QEM bot, and QEM bot is run internally within a scheduled GitLab CI pipeline. And this pipeline can fail for various reasons. And if that fails, for example, it fails to trigger new tests, then we need to handle that. So we are asking members of the team to create a ticket for the issue with a tag alert, and we provide an exception here. So we should create a ticket unless the alert is really trivial to resolve and needs no improvement. Like if it's really something that, like, today we are restructuring the network in a way which is really exceptional and not expected to happen in the next months or years. And then this causes an alert. In the meantime, it's already resolved again because the network came back. Sure, we don't need a ticket. But the normal case really is that we have a ticket. And one good suggestion is given here that if an alert is unhandled for at least 4 hours, then a ticket must be created, because obviously if it stays that long, then it is not a trivial issue. Even create a ticket if the alert already turns to okay, prevent those issues in the future and to improve the, I need to check that wording, to improve the alter, that looks incomplete. So imagine we have an alert in Grafana overnight that some systemd service failed on a worker. And then 1 hour afterwards, still in the night, it turned to okay again. Then we should still look into that issue. So we commonly still create a ticket and plan that work for the team to investigate what has happened. And can it be reproduced if we, I don't know, if we try to reboot the machine 4 times, because commonly there is some real issue and there's just flaky reporting, but there's still something hiding beneath, which we need to understand and act accordingly and at least try to improve something in the neighboring area. And yeah, we link to the corresponding Grafana panel and the ticket, and we respond to the notification email with a link to the ticket. So imagine I wake up the earliest in the morning, for example, and I see that alert, which we have just seen. Then I will create a ticket. I will respond to the email and say, yes, this will be handled in this ticket, so that others in the team, and they start their workday or when they review the emails, they will know that this has already been handled. And if it wasn't handled, then they would handle the issue. Optional, inform in chat, so that would be, additional. If the if the alert is still present, then we create a ticket and we pause the alert, because commonly we don't want, same reason as because we respond to the notification email. We had been alerted, we have that ticket, we plan it accordingly, we work on that. Somebody is working on that, maybe already fixed the problem, so there's no reason to keep the alert firing or keep alerting or notifying for the time. Okay. And in case we do find an alert which is non-actionable, then we change it accordingly, because only alerts which actually make you do something, make you apply some change, are useful. Otherwise, the alert shouldn't be there at all. If you don't know how to handle an alert, ask the team for help. Well, that should be obvious. And one important point, we must always strive for an accepted hypothesis when we want to change alerts or call an issue resolved. So, we only want to accept that we really handled the problem when we actually have a good explanation of what the cause of the initial alert was. Yeah, so we will not just shrug off an alert and say like, meh, sporadic issue we don't care about. But we really want to say, at least we brainstorm and thought what was really likely the cause based on what we have found in the logs and such, even if we don't really apply changes ourselves. And after resolving the issue, of course, we add an explanation in the ticket so that everybody can learn like what was the reasons. We'll just not just discuss about it in a verbal meeting, and then nobody else will know and people will forget. Then of course we need to roll back the steps, so we need to unpause the alert, verify it going to okay again, so that we end up with a green heart. Maybe apply more rollback steps where we applied some manual mitigation, and then resolve the ticket. Do you have any questions or feedback about that process? No? good. Yeah, and then there's just a list of GitLab pipeline notifications. So we are also monitoring those projects. As I mentioned, one example, bot.ng, that's the pipeline for QEM bot for the SLE maintenance updates, where it's of particular importance. And the last thing which I can present, that we have a weekly alert duty. I explained the process before, and we all should react on alert. But additionally, we can have one person on alert duty for 1 week to ensure quicker reaction times when other team members are focused on development work. And this also allows some people to say, like, okay, I can really focus on some work for, let's say, maybe 2 hours, maybe the full day, and not constantly being interrupted by checking, is there something coming up in email, in the alerts, in various chat channels, okay? And by having a specific person, that also allows the person on alert duty to focus more on each alert then, and make sure that we do have a proper follow-up and we follow up the process. So yeah, that's about it. That's what I can present. Any feedback, questions, or additions to that? Well, if not, fine, that's it. Then we can call it a workshop meeting for today. And if you have good ideas of topics that we should cover in the upcoming meetings, then please raise it to us. And if not, then until then, thank you for attendance and see you. Bye.